DMZ into North Korea, on his own. He wasn't, caught. He wasn't captured. And, he's a young soldier that was having some personal issues. He was not exactly
after 2 months. Do you think that King's
potential dishonorable discharge from the U.S.
into
Army.
North Korea,
I think this was just a case
on his own. He wasn't, caught. He wasn't captured. And, he's a young soldier that was having some personal issues. He was not exactly
after 2 months. Do you think
I would qualify him as a high-value hostage by
from
any
the
means.
U.S. into North Korea?
I think this was just a case
on his own.
PRK, and perhaps even some downside.
Right, Mr. Swenson, I was just coming to that according to North Korean officials, Travis said that he defected into North Korea because he wanted to escape racial discrimination in the U.S. Army. But, I mean, there are no, we don't know how truthful the statement is. What is the assessment? Right, Mr. Swenson, I was just coming to that according to North Korean officials, Travis said that he defected into North Korea because he wanted to escape.
It's kind of absurd to make that comment, whether it was from him or from the DPRK. We're not sure that he actually made those statements, and I surely wouldn't trust anything that comes from the propaganda machine in North Korea. So, and there's literally no evidence or little evidence of racial discrimination of all places in the U.S. Army, which was one of the first great institutions to integrate after World War II, and it's long been known as a great destination or a great alternative for African Americans who are aspirational and want to serve their country. It would really make no sense for that to come from anyone but the DPRK.
Right, and China and Sweden have helped U.S. in brokering this deal with North Korea, and Washington has also thanked Beijing, which allowed a safe passage to the U.S. soldier. How do you see relations between U.S. and China evolving at the moment, especially after Travis King being freed from North Korea?
Well, perhaps it was a move by China to reach out to the U.S. and actually extend an olive branch, whereas the last few months or even the last 2 years has been very difficult. The Biden administration has been begging for some sort of interaction and calling for high-level meetings, and Xi has consistently declined the opportunity to converse with President Biden. He has seen some of the Biden administration officials that have traveled to Beijing to see him, but it's really been a one-way street. It's been the Biden administration reaching out to Xi, and he's declined. So this might have been a moment of diplomacy coming from China. It wasn't a big ask. It wasn't something that they had to make any great sacrifice for. It was simply having their relationship with North Korea, which obviously
which
they're
members
the
are waving
partner in that
Jamie,
relationship.
which members are waving
to ask for the release of this young soldier, because again, he wasn't a high-value hostage.
The Committee on Oversight and Accountability will come to order. The Committee on Oversight and Accountability will come to order. Without objection, welcome everyone here today. Declare a recess without objection. The chair may declare a recess at any time. Is to welcome the return. First order of business is to welcome the return of a. We want to welcome member to the committee to leave. We want from Michigan to the committee. Congresswoman Tlaib has been a member of the House. To the committee, Congresswoman Tlaib has been a member of the House.
Sacrificing much. So look, I think it's
Congresswoman Tlaib has been a member of the House since 2019. Congresswoman Tlaib has been a member of the House since 2019. House of Representatives. Before that, she served 15 years in the Michigan House Committee. She spent her first 2 terms on the Oversight Committee. She spent her first 2 terms on the Oversight Committee. Congresswoman Tlaib replaces Vermont. And I want to welcome back Congresswoman Tlaib Vermont. And I want to welcome back Congresswoman Tlaib. I now recognize Ranking Member Raskin to welcome Congresswoman Tlaib.
Well, thank you, Chairman Comer, for that very warm welcome extended to our colleague, Rashida Tlaib, the favorite daughter of Michigan and a veteran of this committee, and we're so thrilled and delighted that she's back to join us. I yield back to you.
Gentleman yields back. I ask unanimous consent for Representative Jason Smith of the House Ways and Means Committee to be waived on the committee for today's hearing for the purposes of asking questions. Without objection, so ordered.
Ukraine, Romania, Kazakhstan.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that our colleague, Congressman Glenn Ivey from Maryland, be permitted to join the committee and ask questions of the witnesses today.
Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement.
And wanting to engage.
Since assuming our Republican majority in January, the House Oversight and Accountability Committee has uncovered a mountain of evidence revealing how Joe Biden abused his public office for his family's financial gain. For years, President Biden has lied to the American people about his knowledge of and participation in his family's corrupt business schemes. At least 10 times, Joe Biden lied to the American people that he never spoke to his family about their business dealings. He lied by telling the American people that there was an absolute wall between his official government duties and his personal life. Let's be clear.
I think it's,
there was no wall.
A good moment, and
the door was wide open to those who purchased what a business associate described as the Biden brand.
That went AWOL.
Evidence reveals that then Vice President Joe Biden spoke, dined, and developed relationships with his family's foreign business targets. These business targets include foreign oligarchs who sent millions of dollars to his family. It also includes a Chinese national who wired $250,000 to his son.
Absolutely, Mr.
Joe Biden also lied to the American people about his family making money in China. He continued to lie about it even when the House Oversight Committee uncovered bank wires, revealing how the Bidens received millions from Chinese companies with significant ties to Chinese intelligence and the Chinese Communist Party. Just this week, we uncovered 2 additional wires sent to Hunter Biden that originated in Beijing from Chinese nationals.
As per the officials, he is now in the U.S. custody. Well, this comes hours after North Korea announced its decision to expel King from the country after completing its investigation. The 23-year-old soldier left through China before being handed over to U.S. custody. Well, the White House thanked Beijing, allowing a safe passage
between 2014 and 2019.
The officials reported that
we've also identified 9 Biden family members who have participated in or benefited from these shady business schemes.
In North Korea.
Now, what were the Bidens selling to make all this money?
US military soldiers and State
Joe Biden himself.
To get the US soldier back
Joe
home.
Biden is the brand. And Joe Biden showed up at least 24 times with business targets and associates sending signals of access, influence, and power to those prepared to pay for it. The American people demand accountability for this culture of corruption. They demand to know how these schemes have compromised President Biden and threatened our national security. They demand safeguards to be put in place to prevent public officials from selling access to their public office for private gain. Under the leadership of Speaker Kevin McCarthy, House Republicans have now opened an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. By opening an impeachment inquiry, our investigation is now focused on whether President Biden engaged in impeachable offenses under the U.S. Constitution. It empowers Congress, elected by the people, to continue providing the answers, transparency, and accountability that the American people demand and deserve. In recent history, Democrats inflicted much damage on the credibility of congressional investigations by peddling the Russian collusion hoax. But this committee, under this majority, will not pursue such witch hunts based on manufactured allegations, innuendo, and no real evidence. Today, the House Oversight Committee will examine over 24 pieces of evidence revealing Joe Biden's corruption and abuse of public office. This includes emails, text messages, bank records, and testimony of Biden business associates. We will hear from legal and financial experts about this evidence and crimes that may have been committed as Joe Biden was sold around the world. The House Oversight Committee, along with the committees on the Judiciary and Ways and Means, will continue to follow the money and the evidence to provide accountability so that Americans know their public offices are not for sale. I now yield to Jason Smith, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. Yesterday, the Ways and Means Committee released new documents showing President Biden was not just aware of his son's business dealings, but he was connected to them. In a newly released message to a Chinese business executive, Hunter Biden mentions preserving the, quote, keys to my family's only asset. That asset? Joe Biden. New evidence released in response to questions raised by members of the committee on both sides when Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, the 2 IRS whistleblowers, testified in July, paints a disturbing picture of a revolving door between Joe Biden's office and Hunter Biden's business partners. According to a worksheet provided by IRS whistleblower Ziegler, then Vice President Biden's April 2014 official visit to Ukraine occurred only days after a series of White House meetings with Hunter Biden and his business associates regarding Ukraine. Shortly after Joe Biden returned stateside, the Ukrainian company Barisma announced Hunter Biden's appointment to its board. New evidence provided shows Hunter Biden using his father's position to gain favor with billionaire Miguel Alemán, including having Joe Biden host them at the White House in February of 2014 at the vice president's residence alongside Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim in November of 2015, and then in 2016 using Air Force Two to shuttle Hunter Biden and his business associate to Mexico City. Whether it was lunches, phone calls, White House meetings, or official foreign trips, Hunter Biden cashed in by arranging access to Joe Biden, the family brand. The Biden family and their associates received millions in payments from foreign sources, including from Russia, China, Ukraine, Romania. In one email, Hunter Biden even bragged that he cut a deal for $10 million from just one company for, quote, introductions alone. And yet the DOJ wanted to keep the spotlight as far from Joe Biden as possible. One of the items we released yesterday was an IRS interview with James Biden, the president's brother. In September of 2022, the agency was barred in the interview from asking him about Joe Biden and about whether Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's deal with a Chinese energy company. And when Hunter Biden had his tax liability of over $2 million mysteriously paid for by a Democrat Party donor named Kevin Morris, who he barely knew, something IRS investigators saw as a possible campaign finance violation, Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf said she did not want any of the agents to look into the allegation. Behind, on the board are notes Agent Shapley took from that meeting. He notes that Wolf told investigators that she was not, quote, personally interested in pursuing it. This is the same attorney Wolf who, in an email we released yesterday, responded to IRS investigators seeking approval for a search warrant with, quote, there should be nothing about political figure one in here, that being a reference by definition of Joe Biden. The Biden family sold access to Joe Biden's power, and the Biden Justice Department protected the Biden brand. We must continue to follow the facts. I yield to Jim. I yield to Representative Jordan.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. This is a tale as old as time. Politician takes action that makes money for his family, and then he tries to conceal it. Never forget fundamental facts. Hunter Biden gets put on the board of Barisma, gets paid a lot of money. Hunter Biden's not qualified, fact number 2, to sit on the board. Not my words, his words. He said he got on the board because of the brand, because of the name. Fact number 3, the executives at Barisma asked Hunter Biden to weigh in and help them with the pressure they are under from the prosecutor in Ukraine. Fact number 4, Joe Biden goes to Ukraine on December 9th, 2015, gives the speech attacking the prosecutor that starts the process of getting that guy fired. Those facts, by the way, are consistent with what the confidential human source told the FBI, and the FBI recorded in the 1023 form, the same form that the Justice Department didn't want to let this committee see. And all those facts, all of that was further confirmed yesterday with the information that the Ways and Means Committee released from the whistleblowers Shapley and Ziegler. Here's a communication from Hunter Biden to an executive with Barisma. Devin and I do feel comfortable with Blue Star strategies and the ability of Sally and Karen to deliver. Hunter Biden put Barisma in touch with Blue Star Strategies. What were they going to deliver? Well, that was in a communication released yesterday as well. U.S. officials officials in Ukraine and in the United States need to express support for Barisma and Nikolai Zlochevsky to the highest level decision makers, the President of Ukraine, the President's Chief of Staff, and the Prosecutor General. That's what they were going to deliver. And were they successful? The Interior Minister confirmed that Zlochevsky is no longer wanted. We won in less than a year communications between the folks at Blue Star and Eric Sherwin, who was Hunter Biden's business partner. Awesome work. Congratulations to you guys. Those are the communications. That's what they got done. And remember, when this happens in October 2016, when the pressure is taken off, the cases dropped against Zlochevsky.
Definitely positive. I mean,
this is the second prosecutor. Joe Biden fired the first one. The second prosecutor comes in, drops the charges. That's exactly what they wanted done. And the final step, is the Biden Justice Department tries to sweep it all under the rug. They slow-walk the investigation. They let the statute of limitations lapse for the most important years, 14 and 15, the Barisma years when all that income's coming in. They try to put together this sweetheart deal and get it past the judge. And we learned yesterday in the search warrant examining Hunter Biden's electronic communications, they weren't allowed to ask about political figure one. Political figure number one is the big guy, is Joe Biden.
Thank you so much for joining us on WION.
They would have gotten away with it all. They would have gotten away with it all, except for two brave whistleblowers who sat in those seats 2 months ago and told their story. And their story has stood up. Two brave whistleblowers and a judge in Delaware who said, we're not going to let this happen. That's why we're here today. That's why this inquiry is so darn important. It's the oldest story in the world, and those are the facts. I yield back.
Well, this
gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Ranking Member Raskin of Maryland for his opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Before I give my opening statement, I have a parliamentary inquiry. Given that the committee has not been authorized by the full House to conduct an impeachment inquiry, am I correct in assuming that we're obligated to follow the rules of the House, including Section 370 of the Rules and Manual, which prescribe engaging in personalities towards the President?
United States diplomatic liaison in North Korea. Pentagon also hailed the hard work of U.S. military soldiers and State Department to get the U.S. soldier back home. And this comes after months
Well, considering this is an investigation of Joe Biden, I assume that his name's going to come up.
In July.
Right, but the House has not authorized this as an impeachment inquiry, so we're just operating with the general rules. And I think saying that the President lied is considered engaging in a personality. In fact,
demilitarized zone sightseeing trip.
Section 370 says accusations that the President has committed a crime or even that the President has done something illegal are unparliamentary. And we're operating with the general rules of the House because the House has not authorized.
The Speaker of the House has authorized the impeachment inquiry. It has been authorized.
Okay. All right.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
The ranking member who
just last month,
I believe changing of the rules must require a vote from full House of Representatives.
Mistreatment and racial discrimination in the U.S. Army.
The rules of the committee.
The chair overrules a point of order. While articles of impeachment are not directly before this committee, we are looking into the potential wrongdoing of the President. Given the unique nature and subject matter of today's hearing topic, these words will not be ruled out of order. So,
okay,
Ranking Member Ashton, proceed.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Chairman. We obviously have an honest disagreement about that. All right, so let's get it straight. We're 62 hours away from shutting down the government of the United States of America, and Republicans are launching an impeachment drive based on a long debunked and discredited lie. No foreign enemy has ever been able to shut down the government of the United States, but now MAGA Republicans are about to do just that. But they don't want to cut off public services to the people and deny paychecks to more than 1 million service members without first launching an impeachment drive, even when they don't have a shred of evidence against President Biden for an impeachable offense. And you think I'm being harsh? Here's what some Republicans have had to say over the last week about the actions of the Republicans as they watch up close, quote, the dysfunction caucus at work, in the words of our GOP colleague from Nebraska, Don Bacon. Clown show, foolishness, terribly misguided, stupidity, failure to lead, lunatics, disgraceful, new low, pathetic, enabling Chairman Xi, people that have serious issues. Those folks don't have a plan. Show just how broken they are, and individuals that just want to burn the whole place down. Now, if I said any of these things, they'd probably take my words down, but these are Republicans talking about Republicans. So let's be clear. This isn't partisan warfare America's seeing today. It is chaotic infighting between Republicans and Republicans. It's MAGA versus extreme MAGA, as if anybody in the real world could tell the difference between the two. What a staggering failure of leadership. Speaker McCarthy's invertebrate appeasement of the most fanatical elements of his conference now threatens the well-being of every American. Now, some people think the members of the GOP caucus aren't interested in anything logical. They just want to see the world burn, as Alfred Pennyworth put it in The Dark Knight. But I see a method in the madness. A week ago, Donald Trump posted a comment saying that a government shutdown, quote, is the last chance to defund these political prosecutions against me and other patriots. You get it? To delay justice, Donald Trump would cut off paychecks to a couple million service members and federal workers and furlough more than 1 million workers and pay them later for having not worked. They would halt food assistance to millions of moms and kids and keep NIH in my district from enrolling any more patients in life and death clinical research trials. Trump's convinced that if we shut the government down, his 4 criminal prosecutions on 91 different felony and misdemeanor charges will be defunded and delayed long enough to keep him from having to go before a jury of his peers before the 2024 election. And like flying monkeys on a mission for the Wicked Witch of the West, Trump's followers in the House now carry his messages out to the world: shut down the government, shut down the prosecutions. But the cult master has another command for his followers, which brings us here today. On August 27th, he posted this edict: either impeach the bum or fade into oblivion. They did it to us. Of course, the standard for impeachment is not whether they did it to us, but whether the president committed treason or bribery or other